Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we draw our attention back to the tropics where Tropical Storm Marco has now dissipated, but Tropical Storm Laura is expected now to be a major Category 3 or above hurricane. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, I'd also ask that you check out our very exciting Patreon page in the description and the pinned comment down below. That's also where you can find our very exciting Discord server and Facebook groups in the same location. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know once more, now that we have updated information, how strong do you think this storm will get? Do you think it'll be a Category 3? Do you think it'll be under? Or do you think it will be above? Let me know why, and I'll be picking one of those comments for tomorrow's video. Now let's get into this video, and we're taking a look at our 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook here from the National Hurricane Center, which I always urge all of you to seek official guidance from the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service. They are the best at their jobs, and they update their website obviously very frequently with life-saving information, so I highly advise you to seek official guidance from them. We're taking a look at the remnants of Marco there that is just offshore of Louisiana. That should be completely dissipated in about, I would say, 6 or 12 hours. We'll get the last update from Marco there. This could even be the last update for Marco. But we see Tropical Storm Laura is just offshore of Cuba in the Yucatan Peninsula. Heading in a northwesterly direction, it's going to intensify rapidly and potentially become a Category 3 or above hurricane. We will talk all about that throughout this video. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at the cone forecast for Laura. We're going to take a look at the satellite imagery, the low pressure location, our spaghetti model, guidance, things of that nature. We're going to get into the impacts as well later on in the video. Alright, now here we are taking a look at our cone forecast. The most disturbing, in my opinion, the most disturbing updated information that we have is there has been a westerly trend which has put Houston more in the crosshairs of this one. Houston, if this continues to trend west, could be actually under immediate impacts from this one, which would be extremely devastating, obviously. Currently, they're under a hurricane watch with the rest of these pink locations. You can see along that Texas coastline and the Louisiana coastline. And then we have a tropical storm watch there for eastern Louisiana, where we could get some tropical storm impacts. I also expect tornadic activity to be possible there, especially for eastern Louisiana and throughout Mississippi. That's why I put you guys in the major impacts. We could get some severe weather type side effects. That's what we saw up here in Virginia and North Carolina, and those can cause some very serious situations. We actually had a few people pass away, so those could be very major situations in these tornadic tropical situations. So you're going to want to take that very seriously. And again, seek official guidance from the National Hurricane Center on that. As you can see, we're expected to be a hurricane until 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and then you can see by 1 a.m. on Thursday, we're expected to be a major hurricane right before impact with Louisiana and Texas. And if you're not familiar, Category 3 is when it becomes a major hurricane. That's the minimum for a major hurricane, so they are expecting we will at least be a Category 3 hurricane. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on and take a look at the satellite imagery and then the spaghetti model guidance, intensity guidance, things of that nature. Alright, now here's your current satellite imagery, and look, this one is actually looking to really get its act together. We see the outer bands are quite organized, and I'm expecting we will start to see an eye developing within the next 24 hours. That's going to be interesting to see how fast it can develop into a Category 1, 2. That's really going to determine the end results. It has a very limited amount of time until it hits potentially Texas or Louisiana, maybe 48 hours, so this one does not have too much time. This reminds me of Hurricane Michael. I do not think it'll be as intense as Hurricane Michael, but if I do remember correctly, Michael had a very limited amount of time as well to cross the Gulf until it hit the Texas Panhandle, and sure enough, it did develop very, very intensely. So this one could be very similar. We could see that very short window with kind of a question mark as to how far it's going to develop. Let's go ahead and take a look at that spaghetti model guidance here. And again, at about hours 48, it will be approaching Texas and Louisiana. As you can see, a very tight window of spaghetti models here, which is a good sign that they really know what's about to happen. The disturbing thing here is we have a group of models that actually show a direct Houston impact. So I have not ruled out the fact that there could be a direct Houston impact, but the most likely zone as of right now seems to be the Texas-Louisiana border. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the spaghetti models from the GEFS, and basically the same thing, except they're a little tad bit further west with it. And that's, again, just a disturbing development because we're going to get more populated areas the further west it trends. those oranges and reds are indicating a stronger storm. So they definitely think it's going to be a strong hurricane. I think this would probably be a stronger category 1 or 2 here on our GEFS model, which is pretty strong for an ensemble model. We get a lot of differing opinions here on ensemble models usually. So we are looking for a devastating hurricane, unfortunately, here for Texas and Louisiana. This is a situation where you're going to want to prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And what we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at that intensity guidance where we will talk more about impacts such as that. And then we're going to take a look at one of our hurricane models on map to see the winds and how big this storm could be. And then we're going to start talking about impacts. All right, now here we are taking a look at that intensity guidance. And again, we're going to want to hope for the best, prepare for the worst. There is quite a few models that keep us at a category 2 or even 1 here. That's hoping for the best. But there is a pretty big majority there. We see maybe 5 models that show us reaching category 3 or maybe even 1 showing category 4 status. And that's where you're going to want to prepare for the worst. Very safe way to play it. You're going to want to start making your preparations now, whether you're going to evacuate or you own a business or some sort, and you're going to want to prepare that for obviously some very major impacts such as flooding, winds. You're going to want to prepare in any sort of way that you would normally prepare for a major hurricane. Again, I really urge you to seek official guidance from the National Hurricane Center on what to do as far as impacts and that nature and evacuations. You're really going to want to seek the latest information from them. Let's go ahead and take a look at that HWRF model, and this is just a hurricane model that tends to do quite well. And this is, as of right now, we have a near 995 millibar low pressure system with a maximum of 56 mile per hour winds there in those reds up to the north. Also, those are impacting Cuba as we speak. Let's go ahead and move it towards about, this is maybe 2 a.m. on Wednesday. That's going to be August 26th. And as you can see, we start to get 78.6 maximum knot winds with a 975 millibar low pressure system. So rapid intensification. And then here we are by time we are at maybe about the PM hours. I would say about 11 p.m. on Thursday. We see a 945 millibar low pressure system with 113 knot winds there, especially in those reds right there on the eye wall. This is a very major outlook from this model, and I think it might be overdoing it. Hopefully, again, we're going to want to hope for the best, prepare for the worst. This is showing absolutely the worst case scenario, similar to what the NAM model has been showing. The NAM model has been going way overboard with this one. I think you might have seen those floating around, showing an 890 millibar low pressure system. I do not think that's going to occur. But obviously we want to prepare for the worst. This could be a very major hurricane. And then by the time it's reaching land, we see some 107 knot winds moving onshore with a 941 millibar low pressure system moving just onshore to that Louisiana and Texas border there. That would still bring maybe approximately, I would say, 40 to 50 knot winds to Houston, Texas. So either way, we're looking at some moderate impacts for you guys. But very major impacts coming on shore here. Let's look at that simulated radar on the same frame, and as you can see, heavy rain, pretty widespread throughout eastern Texas and western Louisiana there in this case scenario. And here's that simulated satellite on this model, and look at that storm. It is just a monster on this model as you look at the satellite imagery. We absolutely need to prepare for this one to be a very major storm because I think that's definitely a good chance at this point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at the storm surge, the total rainfall, the onset of tropical storm force winds, and then the probability of hurricane force winds. And then we're going to get into our official direct weather forecast. Now, you're going to really want to stay tuned to the National Hurricane Center on this one. They update this very frequently. But here's their storm surge map. As you can see, for Galveston Bay, which is where Houston is, we're expecting 2 to 4 feet storm surge, potentially 4 to 6 feet storm surge just to the east of you. And the one thing you're going to want to pay attention to is it can vary greatly in short distances, as it says there in the bottom right. You might want to pause it and take a look at that disclaimer from the National Hurricane Center. Now, as we draw our attention more towards western Louisiana, you can see we are expecting 7 to 11 feet storm surge, which could cause devastating major flooding. We're going to really want to pay attention to this because that is some major storm surge. Also, in eastern Louisiana, we're expecting 4 to 6 foot storm surge. And then on the very, very eastern region, we're expecting 3 to 5 feet storm surge. And then for the Mississippi coast, potentially 3 to 5 feet storm surge as well. definitely some major storm surges expected with this one. Again, you're going to want to really pay attention to what the National Hurricane Center says in their future updates on that map. Here's the expected rainfall. Anywhere in the greens, you're anywhere from about 1 to 4 inches of rain. The yellows, 4 to 6 inches of rain. In the oranges, and then we're expecting 6 to 10 inches of rain, which you can see extends all the way north throughout a lot of western Louisiana, and then even into Arkansas. So those major impacts could go very far inland as far as rainfall. We're really going to want to pay attention to the expected rainfall because that could really go up. Now, here's the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. And as you can see, at about 8 a.m. on Wednesday, basically the Gulf Coast is going to start to see the potential for hurricane force winds from this one. Obviously, hurricane force winds will be much later. This one's going to be very large storms, so those tropical storm force winds could spread very far out from where the storm is. Here's the probability of hurricane force wind speed probabilities. Anywhere in the yellows and greens, you're under 50% chance, but those oranges and reds, those gold shades, that's where you're expecting to be about 50 to 80% chance of hurricane force winds. Those look like they're going to eventually extend all the way up the Texas and Louisiana border. Again, if we get a slight tick west in the model guidance or a trend west, Houston could be right in the crosshairs of this one, which is very, very bad news. Now, here's our direct weather cone forecast. As you can see, we expect landfall anywhere from just to the west of Houston. I'm keeping that as an option. I've seen west trends very significant within this time window, which could make very large differences in the track. But the most likely track, again, is right along that Louisiana and Texas border. It could also be further east in Louisiana than anticipated. It's going to move north into into Arkansas, where it's going to bring heavy rain, and then eventually curve eastward towards the mid-Atlantic and the northeastern United States, where it will eventually come back offshore. I think it will be remnants by that point, but could it redevelop? I guess technically it could, but I don't find that very likely at this point. People have asked me that, and I don't think it's very likely. However, it is a possibility. We could see heavy rainfall throughout all of this red track because of the remnants still having a lot of moisture within it. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, how much rainfall do you expect to be the maximum anywhere within this storm? And Cloudwatcher said, I'm expecting a max rainfall of 15 inches from these storms because Laura keeps getting upgraded. And yes, Laura keeps looking more and more intense on every run. And even though we're expecting 6 to 10 inches of rain, usually you do see an isolated region that does see more than the anticipated amount of rain. So I think that 15 inches of rain is not out of the question. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank all of you for being patrons and supporting the channel, especially our diamond patrons, Madbirds, Mark J, and then also our platinum patron, Donna Carnes. I thank you all for supporting the channel. If you would like to support the channel in this same fashion, you can do so by checking it out in the pinned comment and the description. You also receive awesome content there. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, please be safe during this storm. This one could be very major. Always seek official guidance from the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service for life-saving information. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.